Hey everyone, it's the Billiards Doctor here. Today I'm going to be going through the snooker stance. There's two types of snooker stances. There is the modern snooker stance, which is a little bit of a crossover between the American stance and a traditional snooker stance. And then there's the traditional kind of old-fashioned snooker stance. So I'll go through the old-fashioned one first. The old-fashioned one's not used as much. It's very rigid. It's very, obviously for me being so tall, it's very uncomfortable. What you want to do is you want to have your left leg, if you're left-handed, left leg straight. Once again, you're on the shot line, but what they like to do is they like to have their foot actually parallel with the cue. So you actually line it up parallel, like that. It's parallel with the cue. And then they put the other foot slightly in front, also parallel with the cue. And it's very, I can't even do it. I'm too tall for this, but it's pretty stable. For me, it's really uncomfortable because my left foot wants to turn automatically, and obviously being tall, my legs want to bend. But that's kind of the old-fashioned. The more modern stance is very similar. They do 45, except they do 45-degree angle with their left foot, still on the shot line, and then they bring their right foot a little bit higher up. So you step forward just a little bit more than the old-fashioned. The old-fashioned one, usually your foot's kind of almost at the same level as your left foot, or just slightly in front, not very far in front. But with more modern snooker stance, this is used by Ronnie, definitely used by Judd Trump, some of those guys. They bring it out a little bit further, and then the key is that makes it a snooker stance is your left leg has to be locked. That's really important. Your left leg has to be locked. You can lock your left leg, and then your right leg usually has a slight bend, just a slight bend. So I'm going left leg straight, right leg slight bend. So kind of like this. And you can move it back a little bit. If you're a little bit shorter, this will be easier for you, but have a little bit of a bend, keep your left leg straight. And I'm not the best at this form because I'm too tall, and honestly I used to do this form for a while, but it was so uncomfortable for me being so tall. But I used to go left leg, right leg, and then I used to really bend over like this, and it was a good workout for my calves and my legs, but it ended up being too uncomfortable for me, so I had to switch it. But the thing I like about the snooker stances are that they're very, very stable. So I've watched many videos of professionals, pool players, 8 and 9 ball pool players giving interviews, and they all kind of agree that the snooker stance is the superior stance. It's more stable than a regular pool stance, and that's the big thing. The one big difference I've seen between the snooker stance and the American stance is the way your shoulders are oriented. So in an American stance, because your right foot, if you're left-handed, your right foot is so far out in front, to be more comfortable, you bend both knees, your shoulders actually kind of turn sideways like this a little bit. And some pool players like that. It really helps them align their back arm really well, but it's sometimes a little bit more wobbly. At least for me, it's a little more inconsistent than having the shoulders square. So if you watch a snooker player, their shoulders will most of the time they'll be more square up to the shot. And for me personally, I've seen that I pot balls a lot better when I am more square to the shot. For me personally, I see that when I'm not square to the shot, when I'm tilted in like this, I tend to steer more with my cues. So that means as I'm making contact, I kind of steer to the left or to the right. And that's just me personally. A lot of professionals you watch Elvin Ocean and some of those guys, they really have, this big, their shoulders are like this, but it works for them. So whatever works for you, you gotta try these stances out and see what you like. But that's the snooker stance. If you're probably 5'7" or probably 5'8" or shorter, or maybe 5'9", you should be able to do without too much pain in your legs. And I recommend, even if you're 6 foot or something, I recommend you just try it, because it is a really great stance. I'm jealous of the people that can do it because it's super stable, and I guess that's the main thing is it's stable and it keeps your shoulders square. But it's a great stance, and I recommend you try it if you haven't. Watch videos of snooker players. They all do this stance. There's a couple taller snooker players that don't do this stance, but for the most part, most of the snooker players will do one of those two stances, mostly do the modern one. But watch like Judd Trump or Ronnie, and you'll see that stance, and it's a great stance. But once again, you have to pick the right stance based on comfort. So if it's not comfortable for you, or if you're not potting balls, then you may want to switch it up. And what I recommend is like try the stance for like 3 days, and if you feel like you're not potting balls, then you can switch back. But give it like 3 days or more to just see, because I mean, like for me, when I switched over to a snooker stance, I was actually pocketing balls better. It was just really uncomfortable. But the very first day, I wasn't pocketing anything because I wasn't used to it. But it takes a few days to get used to, and then once you get used to it, it's awesome. So stay tuned. This is the Billiards Doctor. Stay tuned for the next video, which I'm going to be talking about other stances that are commonly used. And these aren't stances that I would necessarily recommend, but they're stances that you may want to try. And these are, if you're not very flexible, or if you're really tall, or different things that you can try that some professionals do use. Thanks for watching.